Today, we present the Constitution, the very words our forebears wrote after much blood was shed, the blood of neighbors, friends, and family, who could no longer bear the weight of distant rule. They had suffered under a king who taxed and taxed again, who sent soldiers and collectors across oceans to take the harvest and the livestock, leaving barely enough to survive. After a long and difficult debate, the voices of our forefathers came together and spoke as one. They formed a union, decided they would no longer accept tyranny, and so they placed feathers into ink and then ink onto parchment. They wrote a promise, a new and better way to govern, so that their children and their children's children would never have to needlessly suffer at the hands of tyrannical rulers from across an ocean. Those words we know today as our Constitution, and it was written to be the rules and as limits on power. They were not gifts from government. They are our protections from government. They are the company policies that our public servants must literally take an oath to, where they swear to uphold and follow the rules and guidelines within. It is essentially a firewall, purposely placed as a shield to protect our rights and control the reach of those who exercise the public's power. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. After a revolution against monarchy and arbitrary rule, the new states found that freedom without structure quickly turned into confusion, weakness, and danger. The Articles of Confederation left the central government too weak to protect commerce, ensure justice, or defend the nation. The founders set out to build a system that balanced power and placed limits on power itself. They wrote rules so that no single person or office could behave as if the government were their private playground to which they could do with as they wished. The Constitution is essentially a governing contract created to govern the government, a contract within which we, the people, authorize a government to perform limited, enumerated duties. In return, that government must operate only within the rules the people set. The amendments, especially the Bill of Rights, were written to make bluntly clear the limits of government power: freedom of speech and belief, private homes free from warrantless searches, rights to due process, protection from cruel punishment, and the means for citizens to check concentrated force. Viewed plainly, the Constitution and its amendments are not the source of our rights. They are the firewall between citizens and government, the written policies that define what public servants may and may not do. Government officials swear an oath to that contract. They are employees of the people. When they violate the contract, they break the policy they agreed to enforce. First Amendment: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. The First Amendment protects you from government control or punishment for your beliefs, your speech, your press, your right to assemble peacefully, and your right to petition the government. It prevents the state from silencing dissent, controlling worship, shutting down critics, or banning peaceful protest. The Second Amendment: a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment protects you from disarmament by the government and the concentration of a monopoly of force in state hands. Historically, it preserves the people's ability to resist tyranny and to participate in collective defense. It limits government efforts to leave citizens defenseless against a government that exceeds its lawful powers. Third Amendment: no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. The Third Amendment protects you from military intrusion into private homes and the imposition of state presence upon private citizens without consent, a check on arbitrary occupation and militarization of civilian life. Fourth Amendment: the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched, and the persons or things to be seized. The Fourth Amendment protects you from warrantless searches, fishing expeditions, and arbitrary seizure by police or government agents. It requires a probable cause and a particular warrant, a direct barrier to unchecked government surveillance and property invasion. Fifth Amendment, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. The Fifth Amendment protects you from forced self-incrimination, from being tried twice for the same offense, from arbitrary deprivation of life, liberty, or property without legal process, and from uncompensated takings of private property. It restrains the criminal justice power and government seizures. Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district, to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. The Sixth Amendment protects you from secret, indefinite, or unfair prosecutions, from denial of counsel, and from trials without notice or the ability to confront accusers. It guards against state abuse of the criminal process. Seventh Amendment. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved. The Seventh Amendment protects you from the government removing jury trials in civil disputes. It preserves citizen participation in civil justice to prevent judicial or bureaucratic capture of civil outcomes. Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. The Eighth Amendment protects you from state cruelty, economically punitive bail, or fines used for punishment or coercion, and from torturous or degrading punishments. It limits the use of the criminal system as a tool of oppression. Ninth Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. The Ninth Amendment protects you from a government claim that unlisted rights do not exist. It prevents narrow readings that would let the state step into gaps and assume power over unenumerated freedoms held by the people. 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The 10th Amendment protects you from federal overreach. It affirms limits on national power and preserves a role for states and the people, a structural restraint so that the central government cannot assume unlimited authority. 11th Amendment. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity, commenced or prosecuted, against one of the United States by citizens of another state, or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. The 11th Amendment protects you from uncontrolled federal lawsuits that could upset the federal-state balance. It narrows federal judicial reach in certain suits against states. 12th Amendment revised the electoral procedure for president and vice president, modifying the method of the Electoral College to prevent confusion and ties. The 12th Amendment protects you from electoral chaos and conflicts in executive selection. It clarifies the process so the government cannot exploit unclear election outcomes. 13th Amendment. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. The 13th Amendment protects you from state-sanctioned slavery or involuntary servitude, the most fundamental restraint on government and private compulsion over personhood. 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. The 14th Amendment protects you from state laws or actions that strip people of citizenship, life, liberty, property, or equal protection without legal process, a major check against discriminatory or arbitrary state power. 15th Amendment. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. The 15th Amendment protects you from racially discriminatory disenfranchisement by government actors or laws. The 16th Amendment, the Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without apportionment among the several states. The 16th Amendment authorized a federal income tax and clarified federal fiscal power. It changed how the federal government raises revenue. 17th Amendment, the Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The 17th Amendment protects you from certain corruption in state-level appointment of senators by moving Senate selection to direct election and increasing democratic accountability. 18th Amendment, prohibition of intoxicating liquors, later repealed by the 21st Amendment. The 18th Amendment attempted national moral regulation. Its repeal shows how broad federal bans on private conduct can be counterproductive. 19th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. The 19th Amendment protects you from sex-based exclusion from voting, preventing governmental gender discrimination in suffrage. 20th Amendment changed the dates for the beginning and end of terms for Congress and the President and clarified succession procedures to reduce lame duck periods and confusion after elections. The 20th Amendment protects you from political instability and gaps in legitimate executive authority that could be exploited by those in power. 21st Amendment, repeal of the 18th Amendment, the transportation or importation into any state, territory, or possession of the United States for delivery or use therein of intoxicating liquors in violation of the laws thereof is hereby prohibited. The 21st Amendment protects you from the negative consequences of broad federal prohibition and restored state and local control over alcohol regulation. 22nd Amendment, no person shall be elected to the office of the President more than twice. The 22nd Amendment protects you from the entrenchment of executive power by limiting presidential terms and reducing the risk of prolonged rule beyond public consent. 23rd Amendment, the district constituting the seat of government of the United States shall appoint in such manner as the Congress may direct a number of electors of President and Vice President equal to the whole number of senators and representatives in Congress to which the district would be entitled if it were a state. The 23rd Amendment protects residents of the District of Columbia from being denied representation in presidential elections. 24th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States to vote in any primary or other election for president or vice president, for electors for president or vice president, or for senator or representative in Congress shall not be denied or abridged by reason of failure to pay any poll tax or other tax. The 24th Amendment protects you from economic barriers to voting by banning poll taxes in federal elections. 25th Amendment, in case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president, and procedures are set for dealing with presidential disability. The 25th Amendment protects you from power vacuums or secretive seizures of executive authority by providing transparent rules for succession and continuity. 26th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of age. The 26th Amendment protects you from arbitrary age-based disenfranchisement of adult citizens and expands participation in our democracy. 27th Amendment, no law varying the compensation for the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. The 27th Amendment protects you from self-dealing by legislators who might try to change their own pay without an intervening election. Okay, people, so now we have read and went over the Constitution. We walked through the amendments. Those words are not a menu of favors a government hands out. They are the rule book. They are the company policy our public servants swear to when they take office. Every official, from the beat cop to the president, swore an oath to those words. They promised to work for us inside the limits we set. So when those employees steal from us, when they rig contracts, when they cook the books, or when they continue to violate our rights on a daily basis, then try to cover it all up or tell us they have done no wrong and then laugh behind closed doors while our taxes vanish into private pockets or are used for payouts for the unlawful violations by those working under the color of law. That isn't a harmless mistake. That's a betrayal of the company policy. In any real company, you break the rules and you get fired. You don't get golden parachutes. You don't get lifetime pensions that pay you $150,000 to $200,000 a year forever, while the people who actually own the company can't even get a straight answer about where $1 billion has went. Just imagine going to work at your job and one day deciding you're going to write into policy that you'll get paid for life after you quit. Imagine nobody in the company can undo it. That would be absurd. That's exactly the travesty our nation has allowed. The Second Amendment was written in a different era, an era of muskets where most people's arms were roughly the same. Its purpose was clear: keep a check on concentrated force. Let the people retain the ability to defend themselves and, if necessary, resist tyranny. Today, that balance has changed. The state holds equipment and platforms of force the public cannot match. Let me put it bluntly. If I handed you $1 million to buy every legal weapon and accessory you could find, then told you to go stand up to a tank or an Apache helicopter, you'd see the truth in a second. This is not a call to violence. It is a plain demonstration that the means of coercion have outgrown the civil check the founders envisioned. So, if you're working in government and you want to take our firearms or quietly enact laws that chip away at the protections you swore to defend, remember, you swore an oath. You weren't hired to rewrite the company policy to benefit yourself. If you keep trying to alter the rules so they favor you and your friends, the people will respond. The remedy ought to be legal and civic, not mob rule, but it must be real. Firing, removal from office, civil suits, criminal charges where they fit. Those are tools we already have. Use them, enforce the oath. We've seen the power of collective action. One viral video, one moment of public witness can force a single accountability. Sometimes just one firing, sometimes a settlement, sometimes a token apology. That's not enough, but it proves the truth. When citizens speak together, change happens. When we document, when we publish, when we refuse to accept platitudes and closed-door settlements as justice, institutions feel pressure. They cannot pretend they were never told. They cannot say they didn't know. We are not calling for war. We are not calling for chaos. We are calling for the opposite, a united, lawful civic power that reminds the government who hired them. Make civilian oversight independent. Make audits transparent. Make consequences real. No more hidden contracts that line pockets. No more internal-only investigations run by co-workers. No more treating the public like an inconvenience. If you work for the government and you believe in the rule book, keep that oath. If you don't, step aside. If you try to sneak anti-constitutional policy in one line at a time, watch the whole picture. When those lines pile up, the result will be a direct contradiction of what the people agreed to. That's where legal accountability belongs. This is FOOSHARD's pledge. We are not violent. We are persistent. We are lawful. We will document. We will publish. We will sue. We will vote. We will show up together. We will demand the rules be followed. We will demand independent civilian oversight that can actually fire, prosecute, and remove corrupt or abusive public servants. That is how you stop tyranny, not with secret threats, but with sustained public enforcement of the rulebook. If you're with us, join the movement. If you believe government is a paid job and we are the employers, then act like it. Hold them to the policy. If you are a public servant who follows the Constitution, we stand with you. If you are a public servant who thinks policy is optional, we will organize, litigate, and vote you out. We are stronger together. A million voices acting lawfully will always be more powerful than a single bullet. Use your voice. Use the law. Join FOOSHARD, which stands for Focused Officer Oversight Securing Honest Americans Rights Directive, brought to you by Reverend James Ray Eldreth.